So let's take a few minutes to explore how these ground rules land on each of us. Have any of us had experiences that might give some context to these ground rules or have additional thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean, I recently, a few months ago, had an experience where actually the module was on microaggressions, so it was a difficult topic to be discussing. There were very diverse identities in the room, and you would think that in a situation where everyone has had, that someone has enacted microaggressions on them, that there would be a little bit more openness towards the experiences of others. And something about gender came up, and the way that one person in particular was just dealing with the topic, and it felt very triggering to me. And at the time, because I didn't really know how to interact or engage with that, and I just kept feeling myself sink into myself deeper and deeper, and then it just I didn't get to engage in the conversation after that. And I think having ground rules that people are aware of, and just recognizing that you never know what can come up for different people is just important, and it creates a sort of a safe space where people feel comfortable speaking, but also a brave space where people feel like they can talk about what's going on in their minds, and they want to learn and engage and improve, but from a place that is safe for everyone.
Yeah, I really like the idea of brave spaces in addition to safe spaces, because it does sort of ask you to challenge yourself, and I think we're hopefully building a space where people feel like they can bring their whole selves to the conversation and have respect and interest from the other people who are participating.
And I guess it's important as well to reflect on how this person that was kind of not being nice to your identities or your cultural differences maybe didn't have the intention of doing that, but might have not reflected himself or herself on how that might land on you, how might that impact others in general.
I was just going to say, I think that's so hard, that rule about kind of separating the person from the message, because there's times it's really hard to not feel aggressed by the person, but to kind of say, look, at least if you've kind of established this, they are probably doing their best, and to try to at least believe that they're doing their best, and think about the behavior, which might need to be corrected or lifted up, but not attacking the person, which can be hard.
Well, and there's that tension, right? Because it can get so depersonalized, right? Or, we just start getting behind our defenses and our walls because we've experienced these aggressions throughout our lives, and we feel like we're not able to show up in these different spaces, right? And then that thing gets triggered, and so walls start coming up because then, you don't know how to engage, and then that other person might, whether the intention was or wasn't to be provocative, right? Then there's how do you manage that? And I feel especially within the context of an online course where there isn't a person in front of you, where there isn't necessarily a mediator or someone to create that dialogue, right? There's just a computer screen and video or text or someone's responses. It can just become so easy to separate and just be sort of even more, or feel like that tension is just rising, right? Rather than, de-escalation. So yeah, it's a difficult and tricky thing, but I think when it's managed well, and I think it can, I think it brings out the best in people, and you can actually foster connection rather than, disconnection and harm and trigger. And obviously I say that from a place of privilege too, right? Because there are some microaggressions and just outward aggressions that I've never experienced in my life. So yeah.
But on Juan Pablo's point, I think it's also very interesting that this online experience might also give you pause to actually pause the video and also reflect on how the other person that you feel that is being harmful to you, where's it coming from, so that when you encounter it again, or if you encounter it again, then you can deal better with the situation. We need to educate in general, so to be open about their good intent, although it landed bad on us, for example.
And part of the work of assuming the best intent is on the people who are speaking to actually come at the situation with the best intent, right? Not to hide behind everybody else's expectation that you're saying things truthfully, but to actually be thoughtful and use your best judgment and your best intentions and your mind, actually come at it in an honest way instead of using kind of civility to mask things that might be
Right.
ugly or microaggressions or something else that you're saying.
And it seems to me that another piece is that you come at it with your best intention, and all of us will at times make mistakes.
Right.
We'll say things that we
Right.
didn't realize, and that's part of that's how we're learning, right? And so, yes, we want people to be respectful and engage us in that, but you also not get defensive. Just, I'm sorry. Thank you for bringing
Right,
that
for
up.
correcting me, yeah.
And for me, if I can get past my defensive part and just kind of say, actually, that took some courage for them to say that, and what I want to do is be grateful for that rather than try to prove that
You're right,
that I was right or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we should reflect on that based on we can sometimes harm people that we love as well, like our own family,
Yeah.
by not thinking about these things. But as well, we have to think that they might have not wanted to do that. So giving
Right.
the benefit of the doubt to the person that
Yeah.
is doing this, I think is important.
And at the same time, we also don't want the emotional burden to fall on the marginalized folk, to be the ones to always be educating and to be able to, right? I think we also need to create that's where the safety and the safe space comes in, right? And that ability to feel comfortable showing up and not feel like you're always going to have to be either triggered or, educating someone about your own experience and be
Right.
like that token person for whatever identity it is that's
All
being
the
discussed at the
time,
time, right? So yeah.
And one of the nice things about an online class context is that I'm guessing that this will reach a much broader group of people than would necessarily be sitting next to me in my conversation in Boston, and so I think this is a really cool opportunity to hear from a much more diverse and kind of broad audience. And so in that sense, there are probably going to be experiences that I'm not familiar with. I wouldn't know what might come out incorrectly or offensively or be an aggression or a microaggression. And so it's a good space to really approach it with a learning perspective rather than I have a lot to say, but it's a good experience to listen and read and learn from all of the wealth of
Right.
people who are around us.
Right, it's that growth.